Happy Saturday, everybody. It's Jamie Green, the Solar Queen, your host of Kickstart Conversations, where I interview business owners, entrepreneurs, side hustlers, and learn about how they started their business or their side hustle and what they're doing today and where they want to go with it. And so today I have a special episode on this Saturday afternoon with my dear friend, Nicole Ralston. She is a business coach and she has had quite the entrepreneurial journey herself. So just 1 second and she'll be right on to chat with us about what she does. Okay, we're live. Hi, Nicole.
Hi. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome. I'm so happy I'm so happy. I think the last time we actually physically saw each other in person might have been when I took pictures of you and not Evie.
Yeah, it was Evie.
Was it Evie?
Yeah.
Yes. It's been far too long, and it's not like that we live that far away from each other.
Well, it's one of those things where when you have kids, it turns into a far distance.
It does. And it's so close yet so far away. And with kids, it feels like a 2-day trip to go to San Jose. So you're in San Jose. I'm up in Marin County in Nevada, and we live maybe 100 miles away from each other, but it's like a 2-hour, 3-hour trip sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. But we met in San Francisco.
But we met in San Francisco. That's right. And you were still living in San Jose. You were in a different house in San Jose when we met. And so I am so how Nicole and I met, for those who are watching, we met at a photography workshop with none other than Jasmine Starr. Who else was there? Jessica Claire.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And who was the guy that started Show It? David J.
Yes.
David J. So David J was hosting the Show It. Show It was like the software that photographers could use that would create like this website right? And photographers could showcase their work, and then it would be like this whole entire place where I think you could share your portfolio of your work as well.
Yeah, I remember it being just like an easy website builder. There weren't a ton of easy website builders at the time.
There were not.
And that one was specifically made for photographers.
That's right. And Jessica Claire was there. And did she invent the shoot sack? I don't even remember. I just remember that
she did invent the shoot sack.
Yeah, the shoot sack. So it made all your gear all like. But Jasmine Starr was like probably the one that we were maybe there to really learn from. I'm not sure, because I was very new to the photography scene, and she was this up and coming, very successful photographer, but now she's like a social media mogul. It's like she's just doing so well with all of that. So that's how Nicole and I met.
I know, and it was such a wonderful, I think you and I both volunteered at the event, because I remember I was volunteering so I could get a free ticket, and I don't even think the ticket was that expensive, honestly.
It wasn't. Maybe $100 or something.
I know, and it came with a dinner too, which is kind of unheard of for any event, but I'm so glad I volunteered, because I met you, we met Colson, and I mean, even Ajir, we met so many people through volunteering.
Yeah.
That I'm so happy to this day that I did that event, and it gave me a chance to just start talking to people, because I was also new to entrepreneurship, to wedding photography at that time, that I was so nervous to go to those conventions. And often I went to a meetup at the time for wedding photographers in San Jose, and was so shy, but the volunteering was such a perfect way to meet. And Jamie, Kate was so kind to give me a ride back to the most south BART station, actually. So that was really helpful.
Yeah. So that's how we met. And then we both got married in the same year. And then we started family. It's just been such I said the other day on my show, at the very end of my show, when I was talking about today's show, that you were my very first friend in San Francisco. Like
Oh,
when I moved to the Bay Area, you were my very first friend, and you just like welcomed me into your friendship crew. And we just had so much fun doing photography. And one of the things that Nicole and I think what really made us, I felt like a bond with you was that we were kind of at the same place in our businesses. We were trying to figure out this whole social media marketing thing. We were trying to figure out how the heck do we promote ourselves? How do we book and book weddings and photography sessions? Like, and how do we do all this? And we were just like, I don't know. I feel like what we did was we just went after it and we put ourselves out there. We were improving our skills and our craft. And now here we are, what, 10, 11 years later now? 11 years later, we have families and we're both not really doing photography anymore.
I think about all the times I drove to San Francisco then. Like driving to San Francisco now feels like a mini vacation. Like I need to plan it. I need to think. And I used to drive over to, and you drove down to San Jose all the time. It was such a different time. And so I love that time. It was really scrappy and really fun. And it's funny because now that I think about going back on that, I'm like, gosh, there are certain things now that I know that would have made things so much easier, but we didn't really.
Oh my gosh.
We had Facebook then and we had blogs. And like, I think that was basically, you know, all we had access to. So we did pretty good with the limited amount of market reach that, you know, we could use.
Yeah. I mean, yes, that's true. And then Instagram came around and then, I mean, YouTube was always around, but with still photography, you didn't really do anything with YouTube. But it's still so awesome what's evolved and everything. So we started with the photography stuff. We had our families, and now we are back at it. And Nicole has been a math teacher, a high school math teacher. She's also have you been a swim coach too?
Yeah, I coached swim at the same school I was teaching at.
Yeah. And so now we're back at it. We're doing different things, but I would say for me, I gleaned from all that experience and pulled it forward and it's probably what's helping me today. So I want to talk about you though, and what you're doing right now and how you got started in your business coaching. So share a little bit. First of all, we already know where you live. We know that you were photographer, teacher, and all that. So what is your business like today? When did you start it? And what gave you the idea to go ahead and start your coaching business or your coaching business?
Yeah, so my background's in math and computer science teaching mainly. So I'm wedding photography I used to do on the side. And I loved teaching math because by the time you get to high school, math is one of those things that has like a lot of weight associated with it, right? Like if I'm good at math, I'm a smart person. Otherwise, I'm not. And it's, you know, math has nothing to do with your intelligence. It's just a skill that you can learn like anything else. And one of the things I really loved about teaching was getting that message across to the students. Like we can learn math, like you can build this skill up. It's not hard. And like that doesn't define your self-worth, right? You know, it's totally separate from that. And so that was always my mission as an educator. And as, you know, I moved on, I was a math teacher for 10 years. I realized I started getting more interested in the building self-worth piece as opposed to the like building math skills piece. And so I had kind of run my course in teaching math, but still had that interest in helping people build their confidence, but in a different way. And that's when I had discovered coaching as a field that like literally that's what coaches do. They build people's confidence. Because I think I Googled it, like, how do I help people become just more confident in general? And so I discovered life coaching. I tried it myself. I hired my first life coach to see exactly what that process was. And at the same time, I had developed this interest in productivity. Like I'd always been into project plans. I mean, computer science involves a lot of strategy, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And so I knew that I could market and would be interested in doing the productivity type coaching. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll start by helping people plan content calendars, plan event calendars, do like more of the project planning type stuff. I was really scared to transition out of teaching because it felt like, well, I should be doing something mathy, but that was kind of like my nice middle ground where I was like, okay, it's kind of mathy, it's strategy. And I felt confident that I could deliver something along those lines. But as I was doing the strategy, which I had only offered strategy, I noticed that my clients would always get really emotional, around these. They didn't feel confident about the plans that we were doing. Not that they didn't feel confident in my ability to deliver strategy, but they were losing confidence in their ability to execute upon that. And I was really curious about that. Like, how can I help them move through it? Because they were always happy with the plans that we made. That was not a problem at all, but it was like, oh, I don't know. I'm scared to put myself out there. I'm scared to start that blog, even though I know I have everything. I'm scared to run these events, even though I have a great plan. And so I then got really curious about like, okay, how can I help people move past that fear? And that's when I decided to get my life coaching certification. And
can you hear Kira in the background? Sorry.
It's okay. Help people with move into their plans, take action on their plans by having that formal training and helping them actually build their confidence.
Yeah. I think that's great because I remember watching your transition or your journey when we would catch up on conversations. You were like, yeah, I'm working with a life coach and she's really helping me with this. And then I remember watching you do you're a cartoonist, like you would do the cartoons and always have an encouraging message for the people in the cartoon. And then one of the things I know about you is that you're you love office products like paper and all that good stuff. But you also were teaching people productivity and whatnot through bullet journaling, like just getting thoughts out of your brain onto paper. And then how are you helping people in getting the thoughts out of their brain onto paper and then actually doing, like executing? Are you helping entrepreneurs and business owners then execute on that part?
Yes. So now my business is actually I'm a business strategist and a life coach. So I'm able to combine both. And that's one of the things that when I decided to start the business was a little bit scary because I actually didn't see that much on the market at all. And as you know, like it's always good. It's funny. It's one of those things that feels like a double-edged sword. Like when you see competition mentally, you're like, oh no, somebody else is doing it. I shouldn't do it. And at that point, I didn't see a lot of people doing business and strategy. And then I had the opposite reaction was like, oh no, nobody's doing this. Maybe it's not a thing. But it is a thing. And I'm so happy to offer it now because again, I make plans. We really dive into, okay, what is holding you back now, right? So what is this story? Instead of just looking at it as like, oh, I'm not strong enough. I don't have enough willpower. I don't have enough discipline. These are often the things that I hear like, okay, I have a plan. I'm not executing. That just means that I'm not cut out for this. I don't have what it takes to do it. It's like, no, that's not true. And what is that story? Where is it coming from? Because once you're able to really examine that thought and separate it from being part of yourself, it's a thought. Thoughts aren't who you are. They're just thoughts. So they're their own thing. Once we can unpack that and really understand where that's coming from and shine a light on it, it becomes a lot easier to let it go. And I think that's the thing that I really learned in life coaching is speaking into those difficult things. It's really hard. A lot of times people think, well, if I look at that and then I find something wrong, then like there's something wrong with me. Like it's just going to like be proof that there's something wrong with me. When really it's like, no, if you look at that and shine a light on it, you actually get to realize that there's nothing wrong with you. This is just a story that is holding you back, and then you can easily let it go. So a good example of this is the I'm not disciplined enough story. Like people have this story all the time, like I don't work hard enough, and I don't work hard enough, and I'm not disciplined. I can't keep a calendar every day. And it's like, well, is that really true? Like, when have you shown discipline before? I'm sure there's something in your life that you have kept up regularly, even if it's not tied directly to business. Maybe it's an exercise routine. Maybe it's like for moms, like taking care of your kids. Like we have to follow. Like we're really good.
We have to feed them. We have to feed them, and we have to bathe them, and we have to do it's all these things, right?
Yeah. So there's proof that you are disciplined in other areas of your life. You just need to be like, okay, why am I disciplined there then? If I can get behind the reason for that, and get a clear understanding of that, how can I then apply that to my business now? And I think, one of the stories too that people have is like to take the discipline one is, I need to be working like so dedicated to this business. I need to be on thinking about it 24 hours a day.
Yes.
And it's like, well, is that really your definition of discipline? Yeah. Does that,
I fall into that one.
yeah, does that have to be true? What are other ways to define discipline? So I think it is taking all of those definitions that we just assume are true. Because success is different for everybody. And people's lives are all different. There's no one right way to do things. There's just the way that works for you. And then there's the many ways that work for you. And then there are the many ways that don't work for you. So it's more about finding the other options of things that work for you.
Yes. In fact, I'm going through a course right now on the power of joint ventures and JV relationships. And so I actually was like messaging with the instructor yesterday going, I want to make sure that I am contributing to this course. I want to make sure that I said, I feel like I'm getting a lot out of it. But the course, like we meet on a weekly basis and it's like interactive. And I said, I was messaging with him saying, I feel like I wasn't contributing and I don't want to let the class down. Like I couldn't finish all the courseware throughout the week because I hate this excuse that I've been so busy, but I don't know what other words to use to say that truly, truly life has been like, it's been busy. So I'm constantly struggling with what do I have to give up to get what I want? And I don't know what else to give up except for my sleep or the expectation that I have on myself in my mind over what is success and what is discipline and all those things. So the conversation ended up having, and it sounds very similar to what you just described, was maybe I have too high of an expectation on myself. Maybe I need to just lower that expectation. That doesn't mean failure, or it doesn't mean that I'm not disciplined, but maybe I just need to lower it a little bit to give myself some breathing room, and knowing that if I'm getting everything out of what I'm setting out to do, then that's a win. And then taking those things and implementing it. So it was just when you were saying that, I was like, oh my gosh, it's exactly the conversation I was having yesterday. And it just totally took the pressure off.
Yes. Running your own business is hard. It requires a lot of self-trust. And I think what I'm running up against, myself with my clients, it sounds like what you're running up against is the idea that small actions don't make a difference, right? Like when we start our business, we think, okay, I need to do everything. Like in order to make this thing successful, I need to have a YouTube channel. I need to have my Instagram account lined up. I need to have the podcast. I need to have all of these things. And usually when we run into business courses, in fact, all the time, I've never taken a business course that didn't tell me this, like you focus on one thing, right? So you're growing your Instagram account only. You're growing your YouTube channel only. You're doing one thing only. And the story that I think people run up against is like, well, but that's not enough. If growing my Instagram account alone won't help. And then they start to do that like rabbit hole, shiny object syndrome thing where it's like, okay, well, I also have to do this and this and this, where it's like, okay, if we can just finish the Instagram course, you can do that stuff next. And like you signed up for this course for a reason. You signed up for this coaching for a reason. What was the result that you wanted? And do you still trust that this can move you towards that result? And I think that's the hard thing. But like what business owners always have to come back to is like trusting your focus, trusting your ability to make decisions. If you made that decision and follow through on it, it will work out. But it's hard to trust that at the beginning because it's not like when you're working a regular day job and you have a paycheck coming regularly in entrepreneurship. It's doing a lot of the work up front and then making that money after, and then doing the work up front and then making the money after. And depending on your line of business, making the money might only happen twice a year or something like that. So it's hard. It involves a lot of trust, but the more that you just slow it down, take those smaller steps and see results come from them, the easier it becomes to trust that like it will work. Okay, I'm just going to focus on this part of my business for this month or this quarter, and something good will happen.
Yeah. Jerry Eisenhower says you have to place things in your suck bucket and delegate them to others. Yes. What do you have to say about that? Because I've been reading the book Who Not How, which talks about a lot of this type of stuff. So as a business coach and as you're working productivity coach / even life coach to some degree, how does that play a role in part of your coaching and helping business owners and entrepreneurs?
Yeah. And, I think it's hard because the suck bucket, to use that term, is different for everybody, right? And also people's ability to delegate is different. So for example, one of the things that I have recently delegated that has made my life so much easier is I've sent out my linens and towels. Like I don't wash those anymore. I wash my own clothes because nobody can touch my clothes. But like that's one thing that I was like, we have this in the budget. We're just doing that because I can't do any more laundry. Yes. With kids, like I don't know where all this laundry comes from, but like
I don't know either. And I think that's like I would rather have someone do my laundry than clean my house.
See, and that's the thing. It's like, what are the things you're willing to do? I love cleaning my clothes. I don't like doing, and it was funny, even micro delegating that. It's like, okay, I can clean clothes. I have no problem with that. But like the towels, the linens, and all the bed sheets, I just like couldn't do that anymore. Jesse is very much into the cooking. I've taken on the cleaning and tidying and that kind of thing. He gets the kids ready in the morning, and actually he gets the kids ready before they go to bed. I take care of school in the morning. So I think one, if you have a partner, setting expectations with them, like especially as women, I was at the beginning was like, okay, I have to cook. I have to get the kids ready. I was assigning them all to myself without even asking Jesse which one, could you do some of these? So a lot of the coaching that I do is around that. Like, is that expectation a real expectation? Have you had a conversation around that? So like one of them is one that's non-monetary one that like, if you don't have the money to outsource your laundry. Yeah. One of my current clients, she was feeling like she had to be on call at her 9 to 5 all the time, right? Like she's like, okay, I need to be available on email all the time. And so as we were going over, she wasn't sleeping, or she'd fall asleep when she was trying to work on her webpage, And I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense. You're tired. Of course you're falling asleep. That's not a discipline thing. Like you need to do it earlier. How can you find time earlier in your day? And we kept unpacking like what her week looked like. And it turned out that she was just answering questions randomly throughout the day, right? She felt like she had to be on email 24/7. So then she couldn't turn off her work ever. And so we ended up agreeing like, okay, you're going to have a conversation with your boss, see what your hours of email response actually are, and then just stick to those. And by doing that, she was able to then buy a couple of hours to work on her website instead of into her sleep for her website. So a lot of it is looking at the big picture, looking at all the time in your week and seeing where can I take time from? And if it looks like I can't take time from anywhere, who do I need to have conversations with to figure out how to get time in those areas?
Yeah. Jerry says, place the things you're not good at in the bucket and find someone who's better at it than you. I agree.
Yeah.
I am not the world's best house cleaner. When we did have someone come in and clean our house pre-COVID, and then the COVID thing happened and the shutdowns happened, and then we had her come back for a little bit, and then so I'm ready to have her come back and start cleaning because she does it faster than I can.
We didn't let go of our house cleaner if she didn't want. We were like, if you want to, that's totally fine. We totally understand. Yeah. And we will excuse ourselves because she would finish it in like an hour. It's like we could be out of the house for an hour for you.
So those are like little life hacks, I guess, or life tips of how to increase productivity and release yourself from that kind of stuff. What are some other things that you work with your clients as a business coach?
Yeah. So a couple of the other things that we work on. So one, I do mainly business launches for new entrepreneurs and consultants. So the number one problem that my clients have is figuring out how to get their first clients. So there's a lot of different problems that they have, but one is how to get their first clients. Like I don't even understand how to get a client. I feel like I have to have a full up and running Instagram account. I need 1,000 followers before I can get that first client, which is absolutely not true. So we work on ways to just get clients. The other things that we then work on too are like, okay, what are all the foundations that I need to have in place in order to make my business successful? And foundations for me are more of the messaging foundations, your mission, your marketing foundations, not necessarily the like financial. I don't help with like financial or legal advice, but one of the other things that we do plan out also is your money. Like, let's take sales seriously. Let's take spending money on these courses seriously. Let's really plan out not only your money and not only your time, but your money, your energy. What are you willing to spend to make this business happen? And again, there's no right or wrong answer to this, but when you get really clear on all the resources that you have available, and then really clear on what are the priorities that get you clients, and actually build forward momentum, then it becomes a lot easier to take action, because again, that overwhelm is really real. And it's also avoidable, but planning is a slow process that feels like you're not doing anything. So I think reminding people, okay, we can slow down and we need to look at the big picture. Like if you're starting a business, this is the only business of its kind ever in existence. So there aren't answers. That's why you constantly need to plan, and you constantly need to get feedback and check in, and then you can adjust your plans, get the feedback, adjust your plans. Like it is a dance all the time.
Totally. And it's just that tweaking and fine tuning. And I used to struggle with like being a perfectionist or feeling like I had to have the perfect plan in place and everything all situated before I could do anything. And by the time I was ready to pull the trigger, I was already too late, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's a recipe for never taking action. I'm with you. I used to be a major perfectionist, and it's the thing that got me out of that. And the thing that the way I help my clients get out of that is really getting back to our why, getting back to the mission. Why did you start this business? What is your intention? And everybody's intention is to serve clients, is to work with people, is to help people. And it's like, okay, that's what you need to be doing then. You don't need to be marketing. You don't need to be like starting a podcast necessarily. You don't need to do that stuff in order to serve people and help people in the way that you want. Those are all nice things. Like I have a podcast. I love doing that. There are a lot of things I love doing on the side or around my business in terms of marketing. But at the end of the day, if I am limited in my hours, the thing that I prioritize is helping clients, working directly with people, and not necessarily the marketing stuff.
Right. Because one of my mentors and coaches says, focus on the income generating activities. Like you could be doing, like you said, all these things, but is it generating income for your business? And if it's not, and I kind of think that I agree with Steve here, what he's saying, you have to look at what your time is worth. If you make $100 an hour, you shouldn't be doing a $10 an hour work. And I would say that's probably true even with like, you know, if you're not the expert at marketing, you don't have to take the time and the resources to figure it out necessarily. Maybe you outsource that to a marketing agency they're experts and they can help you. Or, you know, maybe it's like, I know podcasting, people are doing podcasting right now, and it's a lot of work. Like I live stream. I prefer to live stream because it's live, it's on the go. If we mess up, we mess up and we just roll with it, you know, but, and then if I want to take the audio off of this and put it into a podcast, I can, which I do. But I probably would get my hands slapped by all the professional podcasters out there who say it has to be done a certain way, but it's what works for me right now. But I know people that outsource their podcast editing and all of that stuff, and then they take care of it all. So yeah, so I guess there's lots of different ways that you can look at it. So is that something that you work with your customers as they're launching their businesses? Do you have like like a list of people, if they have a strength and they're weak in this area and somebody else has a strength, do you kind of offer them solutions or suggestions for that kind of stuff?
I do. And that mainly occurs at the end of my program though, because one of the things that I do believe is that you can't outsource anything at the beginning of your business simply
until you know your business in and out, right?
Exactly. And you just don't know what you're going to be good at, like it's at the beginning when especially when you're not coming from your industry. Like I transitioned from teaching into coaching. They're two completely different industries. I had no idea where my skills in this industry would lie. I knew what my skills were in actually delivering services to my clients, but in terms of marketing and the tech side even, and like all of that, I wasn't sure what I was going to be good at and what I wasn't. And especially when it comes to marketing, I strongly believe you cannot outsource your marketing at the beginning of your business, because your messaging is the most important thing in your marketing, and your messaging all has to come from you. Like you can't outsource your messaging at the beginning because you don't know what you're trying to say. Like you can only outsource when you know exactly what you need, and you won't know what you need until you try it. So like an easy example of this is I actually have a client who, since working with me, she started her own podcast. And she was getting very shiny object syndrome at the beginning. Like I need this microphone, I need this software, I need blah, blah, blah. And so finally she just like took it down a notch and said, okay, what do I have right now? Like you're saying, to start the podcast. She just did it with that. And it was great. And after that first season, she then was like, okay, I do need a microphone, but now I know exactly what microphone I want. I know what things were annoying to me with the current setup that I had, so that she could go out and make a better decision about buying a microphone. And those are the kinds of things that we learn in the program, where it's like, okay, you don't know what your messaging is until you try something. And so once you write it and publish it, and then either realize that you like it or you hate it, then you can take the thing that you like and then outsource that. But you won't know what you like until you try even just a little bit of everything. Like in no defined like amount of things you need to do, but you have to try everything in order to even know what to outsource, because that's a common problem. In fact, a lot of the people that I refer my clients to don't work with new entrepreneurs. They only work with entrepreneurs who have been in a business for a year or more, simply because they don't have anything, right? Like they're like, I would basically just be taking the money, making stuff up, and then they might not even use it because they'll get it back and be like, oh no, I don't like this messaging. Where like if they came with messaging already, then they could be like, okay, this is my messaging in general, clean it up, make it pretty copy, and then she can take something and do with it. But she's like, I can't take nothing. Then at that point, I'm just making it up based on, what you think you want.
Right.
And then it just doesn't turn out well. So I think that's what we really work on, is trying everything out, which I know is really uncomfortable. And that is just the case all the time in entrepreneurship. You're constantly trying things out. But once you try it out, then you know what you like and what you don't like. You know what you're good at and you know what you're not good at. And all of that is great information. Again, it doesn't say anything about your ability to succeed. In fact, that's the information you need in order to succeed.
Right. It's kind of like, when we were starting out in photography, we were beginning, we had our DSLRs. They were perfectly fine. What we learned is the photographer is the person behind the camera, knowing how to use the camera. It doesn't mean if you go and get the most expensive camera on the market, that's going to instantly make you the best a better photographer. And so work with what you've got until you're ready to then upgrade and improve and make it better. Or I guess, It's just, there's so many parallels to that.
Totally. And I think the thing that, I used to operate this way as a wedding photographer, is like, I need to impress my customer. Like if I have the best camera, then I'll impress them. If I have this, then I'll impress them. Where really clients don't need to be impressed. They just need you to meet their needs. So at the end of the day, if you take wedding photos that are clear, they didn't care about how many pixels there were. Like they might've been, if their question was, hey, I'm planning on printing 8x10s, then sure, I need to deliver a photo that can be printed as an 8x10. But I remember at the time being so obsessed with pixel count, which if my clients are blowing up, huge photos, really didn't matter. So it's like, what are my clients' needs? And then how do I serve those? And also, how can I make what I have work for that situation? Like I used to be so nervous. It's so funny. I just got a new ring light behind me. I'm so excited about it, but I was so scared of lighting when we started out doing photography.
Yeah.
And finally I got to a point where I'm like, okay, I I can only read so much about lighting. Like I need to just use the flash and see how it works.
And yeah, and like work with it and see, and like get your hands dirty and figure out how it works.
Yeah, you're not going to break anything. I mean, it's kind of the same analogy as like when you're teaching your parents how to use computer, or anybody knew how to use computers. Like you're not going to break it. Like push the button, and if that button doesn't work, just push a different button. Like it'll be fine. But I think, you know, the older we get, one of the stories I notice is that like we should know how to do things the first time, which is not true. And it's never
we should be perfect at it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Can you hear my daughter in the background screaming her head off?
Oh, good. Mine just came in to show off new toothbrushes.
Oh, cute. We just got new baby toothbrushes the other day. So Nicole, I want to say thank you for coming on the show to talk about how you help business owners, startup entrepreneurs and startup business owners get their, literally take their ideas that are in their head, get it on a plan, and then help them execute. I think that is so, such an awesome thing, a service, and a thing that's important because, like I said in the headline of the video, is every business owner needs a coach at some point in time, just like every great athlete needs a coach. So, so for those who, and Steve LaChance's iPhones have great cameras for video and pics too. I agree. Whenever I go to a solar installation or a project, I pull out my phone. Oh my gosh, I don't know. I'm going to have to go in and check it. And I literally hold up my phone and I take video, and that's what I use for my content creation. I'm embarrassed to tell you the last time I pulled out my camera to take pictures. I know it was this last year because I took our kids' school pictures this year. But yeah, so I just want, for everyone who's watching, they can follow you on Instagram. That's kind of the space that you love being on, right? Is Instagram. So if you want to follow Nicole, or if you want to reach out to her, please do so at Nicole Ralston _
Yes, thanks.
And then her website, if you want more information, I checked it out. It's a really cool, fun website, NicoleRalston.com. And then let me paste this into the comments so that people, if you have your podcast, if they want to go and listen, they can, the Dream Plan Action podcast. You can go in and right here, you can go. You should be able to click on the comments and it'll take you to podcastapple.com and be able to listen to her podcast. So Nicole, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on this Saturday afternoon. I know it's the day before Valentine's Day, but we did Valentine's yesterday.
I forgot it was tomorrow. I thought it was Monday. So, but luckily Amelia remembered. She's got like little plans ready. So
yeah. So thank you so much for being on the show today on this special Saturday. I really, really appreciate it. And I just miss you. We really do need to maybe just one Saturday or Sunday meet up at the park and get our families together. So
that sounds so great. Thank you. So good to see you. Thank you for your grace and letting me be late.
Yeah. We can do our masks and let the kids, socially distance play.
Sounds good.
Yeah, no worries at all. I really, again, thank you so much. So hang tight really fast. And I got to see who's going to be on the show next. Oh, next Friday. I better message her and make sure she's all good to go. But hang tight for just a second. I'm going to just wrap up this show, and then I want to chat with you really quickly at the very end, off air. So, okay, hold on just a second. Okay, so next Friday, the plan is to have Heather Anderson on. And Heather Anderson is a phenomenal female entrepreneur, mother extraordinaire, author, and she leads this Facebook group called the Mamahood on Facebook. And I think it has like 40,000 mothers on that Facebook group. She moderates it. She pours her life and soul into this group. It's massive. She's going to come on and she's going to talk about all that she does to, manage a large Facebook group, as well as mompreneurs that are in the Mamahood, and what she's doing to, showcase and elevate and help mompreneurs in the Mamahood here in the Bay Area get their businesses out and going. So she's going to be on next week on Friday, the 19th. I guess it's the 19th, Friday the 19th at 2 p.m. So you won't want to miss that one out, miss that show. She's phenomenal. Gosh, I can't talk now. So until then, happy Valentine's Day. I hope you spend it with the people that the people that you love and care about, and take care, guys.